Hi, my name is Carla Miles. I'm a student at Liberty University. This report is for COMS 520, Communication Theory, taught by Dr. Cliff Kelly. Today we will be discussing the phenomenological theory and how this theory is the root of man. As Littlejohn and Foss stated in 2011, all you can know is what you experience. That's a bold statement, yes, but we will learn today that just as Littlejohn and Foss stated it, all we can know is what we experience. Would you want to better understand your own actions and thoughts? Wouldn't you want to investigate the pattern behind who you are? More intelligence of our personality makeup results in more controlled responses and more effective communication. All of our knowledge is gained from the point of view we hold. For these exact reasons, we will be discussing the theory of phenomenology so that we can better understand our own thought processes and therefore better understand ourselves. You will find at the end of this 10-minute presentation that studying phenomenology will aid in controlling our responses, understanding our point of view, and ultimately yield more effective communication. The theory of phenomenology, as defined by Littlejohn and Foss, suggests that all of our knowledge is gained from our own point of view. Our experiences, then, are developed through our own thought patterns. The phenomenological theory also holds that communication affects one's thoughts, which in turn creates one's own reality. This theory can certainly explain why matters such as love are so difficult to accurately describe. For example, love, as Webster defines it, is a strong affection for another arising out of kinship or personal ties. A definition alone cannot teach the meaning of the word love. This attempt at explaining love still implies that personal ties and experiences enhance the meaning of love. Even words fail at truly describing what love is. We must look at our past experiences, relationships, events, and conditions to better understand how we have known love. This understanding, in essence, is a reflection of the study of phenomenology. Our discussion today will argue that the phenomenological theory, when understood, can explain what we otherwise could not with words. An in-depth study of the phenomenological theory will also illuminate more effective means of studying Scripture. Our thoughts are powerful and develop our worldview. Therefore, our experiences will change the way we understand and apply Scripture. For instance, Christians would argue a different meaning, or rather an extension of the existent definition of love. Scripture says in 1 John 4:8, "Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love." Another example of the influence of phenomenology in Scripture could be the examples Jesus portrayed. Jesus spoke in parables when approached with questions. These stories of past experiences held deeper meaning than if Jesus had simply answered with a do or do not command. We will always relate more naturally with examples of experiences. The phenomenological theory is best defined when broken into three areas. Littlejohn and Foss described it in these words. First, knowledge can be found in our direct conscious experiences. We learn the world as we engage it. Next, the meaning of something consists of the potential an item has in one's life. And finally, language is the vehicle of meaning in which we experience the world and how we define and express that world. Let's look at some research now to better understand and apply the theory of phenomenology. Daly, in 2013's study of Phenomenology of Redemption or Theology of Sanctification, posed several interesting points about phenomenology. Daly begins an investigation of a passage in Romans 12:1-2. It says, "I urge you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God, your spiritual worship. Do not conform yourself to this age, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, so that you may discern what is the will of God and what is good and pleasing and perfect." Paul here is combining things that, in terms of intellectual respectability, are quite different and need to be kept apart. Paul is using a boldness in terminology by combining holy and pleasing to God, which is reassuring language, often found in Scripture, with the use of as a living sacrifice, which leaves many readers uncomfortable. At the end of Daly's study, he is inclined to say that whether we are looking for an answer in atonement, salvation, or redemption, regardless of terminology, redemption will always mean being saved and redeemed from something and to something. Simply a theory of sanctification is all the same in this situation. Similarly, when developing a phenomenology of redemption, we are now, as Daly would say it, more deeply aware that integral to this formulation is the fact that human beings are intellectually mimetic beings. We become ourselves as a result of imitating the wants of others and from these experiences we remember, whether consciously or not. Kavanaugh's article, Initiation, Baptism and Confirmation, Phenomenology of Christian Initiation, from 1972, seems to really grasp the phenomenological experience behind becoming a Christian. A Christian experiences, essentially, are what create him. A Christian becomes what he is by radical social expression, as Kavanaugh stated. As he stated it, in the consecration we have come to call the Christian initiative, a consecration that is made up of specifically baptism and confirmation. These two events do not happen at the time of coming to faith, as Kavanaugh suggests, nor are they ceremonially or exhaustive. He states that these events are, however, one consecratory event of social initiation of one in whom faith has long been growing, and it must continue to grow increasingly in social and public ways. Baptism confirmation is essentially the public statement when a Christian allows themselves to be vulnerable, thrown wide open for public participation and social interaction. Regarding worship, Kavanaugh stresses that there are perhaps too high of expectations placed on rituals. Ritual, however, in Kavanaugh's opinion, is great and necessary to allow a society's critical values. After all, Kavanaugh believes that a human group that loses its ritual patterns is a group that is already dissolving. Kavanaugh believes that, according to the nature of Paul, faith has been represented as an ongoing process which terminates only in the vision of what has been believed. Additionally, faith can be viewed, according to Kavanaugh, as a dialogue of tension between the lover and the beloved, the creator and the created, God and man. It is carried on in two motions, call and response. Phenomenological experience molds a person. Therefore, it is only right that the theory would have such a strong tie to the salvation experience of man. This tie of routine and importance in carrying a consistent routine can also be seen in the phenomenology of tourism, as studied by Comic and Kalmick. Their 2015 article, Phenomenology of Tourism Experience, states that as consumers, we are promised landscapes of experience, or experience-scapes, that are not only organized by producers, from either marketplace and city planners to local private enterprises, but are also actively sought after by consumers. Comic and Kalmick believes that we are no longer living in the sightseeing society, but rather we are searching for more adventurous, experience-rich places. Comic and Kalmick suggested that there are three characteristics of tourism which can be compared to characteristics of phenomenology. That experiences arise out of people's social and cultural backgrounds, experiences are multifaceted, and experiences are existential. Comic and Kalmick prove that it has been difficult to study the tourist experience when most travelers do not exhibit the same behaviors they are normally prone to when they are in the comfort of their routines. It is necessary to go beyond attitude and behavior to find the thoughts and feelings. However, even when not traveling, the behavior of someone is not necessarily an accurate reflection of their true feelings due to external, social, cultural, and other factors. These experiences, however, are still a reflection of a person. One may not act as they normally would when they do not feel comfortable in their routines. So through this study of phenomenology, we have found patterns in our responses, our point of views, and ultimately our communication efforts. What we experience will benefit us far greater than just giving us a few more stories to share around the kitchen table. Our experiences affect us deeply and leave a large impression upon our thought processes and eventually our worldview. A Christian does not become a Christian by baptism alone, but rather through the continuing growth, through understanding, through scriptures and studies of the ways of God. A person will frame their experiences as a reflection of the social order and the society in which they have been raised. We become who we are as a result of imitating the experiences we remember, whether consciously or not. At the end of the day, all that we know is what we have experienced.